What happens when you take two guys from New York who absolutely love to talk and give them a license to rant? You get your hosts, John Peasy and Mikey Sausage.
That's it. We're in.
I don't know if that intro is good or bad, because those are like photos and videos from like 4 or 5 years ago, and it really is disturbing me.
Every time I watch it, I keep thinking, "Wow, I was thinner then. I had more hair then. We were both thin. It was before COVID weight."
Nah, it wasn't COVID. Well, that's a good. Yeah, it's COVID. You're right, Johnny.
It's COVID. It's COVID weight. That's what it is.
What's
As a matter
going
of
on?
fact, I gained so much weight during COVID. I let my socks out today. Speaking of which, this is the joke of the day. You ready? What's worse than ants in your pants?
What's
Uncles.
worse than Anthony?
Uncles. I know it's terrible.
You're getting like
hey,
Jackie the
Mike.
Joke Man now.
Yeah, basically, just joking. Jokes. I love jokes. You
So
know
what's the
that.
matter? You look a little tired today, John. You look like you were up all night.
I'm not tired at all. I have the strength of 10 men. I feel wonderful. I was up very late. I was late. People don't know. Well, we did 3 shows in a row yesterday, and today we have this one, and I have one later tonight. So it's all. Speaking of which, last night was the first time we're taping 3 shows, and I actually had a phone call to do a live show in the middle of it. They're like, "Are you available tonight?" And I'm like, "No." That stunk. That stunk so bad.
Listen, you have so much money, it doesn't matter. You don't
Yeah,
need the
that's
money.
right. So I'm still wealthy. I'm wealthy in health. Thank God.
You're working hard, right?
To be honest with you, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. Since it's COVID, I learned a lot of things. And one of the things I learned is I don't want to work as hard. I want to work more effectively and less hard. And I also want to be on purpose lately. I want to be more purposeful in everything I'm doing. And I also want to make sure that that I enjoy everything I'm doing, like laughter. And I want to enjoy every show. If you're doing 5 shows in a day and you're just knocking them out, you don't enjoy it. But if you go to one and you come in relaxed and ready to go, and you make everyone laugh, and you walk out just as happy, you can spend time with people, it's great. You feel it's on purpose. I mean, in your business, you make sausage. You ever think about you're helping people, you're creating a product, and you ever think you're making it with love or you're making it with stress, you know?
Listen, I'm 4th generation. I'm there since I'm 12, right? So what I do is in my blood, and I love it. If I loved it, I probably wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. So, to be in that business, you have to be passionate. Like you're a comedian, you're a ventriloquist, you're a magician. If you got to be passionate, you got to love what you do, because you got to practice real hard at it a lot to be really good. So if you don't love it, it'd be some bad job that you have, right? So think about
Absolutely. And I know, but I'm just saying, when person makes you food, does the person make you food with hate or with love? Because if I see a person like if I'm in the diner and they're making the fries and the home fries, and they're like, I got another order, this damn person, hey, you next, oh God, go get me more. I don't want to eat that food because it's infused with hate. If I have somebody comes in and says, I just made you the most greatest steak. I matured it. I took it. I did that. Wait till and then all of a sudden it's giving it to you with positive energy. So I don't know if it gets into the food or not or whatever, but it gets into everything we do. So you just want to have a positive out. Actually, the word positive is really bad for 2012, 21. You don't want to hear positive anymore.
So that's why you love your wife's cooking, because she does it with so much love for you, buddy.
That's right. That's exactly right. Boy, do you know how to stroke.
Except that little bit of arsenic she's been putting in every little bit of the time.
I'm still alive. I'm still here. Hey, listen, enough about you and me and our silliness, right? So I know this woman for many years on Facebook, and I want to bring her on here because she has a really incredible story of pain, and that leads later to great inspiration. And I got to tell you, I read her book. I have it right here, which is probably not going to be seen real well here.
No, Leland will put it up on the screen. Don't worry about it.
It's called Beyond the Keyhole by C. Sparks. And I have to just, this is the first part I wanted, before you introduce her, I want to just read this, because when I opened up the book and started reading, the first thing that she said, I kind of laughed at and I loved. It was kind of interesting. She said, I would like to acknowledge all those who told me I was ugly, stupid, and worthless. And we've all gotten that as kids in our life. I would never amount to anything, and all those who felt the need to mentally or physically abuse me. A big shout out to all of those who doubted me and didn't want to help me. If you were betting against me, you might want to get a refund. I think that's a very powerful statement of her life. And I read that and I was like, it sent shivers down my spine.
That's almost something that I think I'm going to steal that. I think that's I think that's awesome, because I remember my father, real quickly before we get into it, we were in business with somebody else, and we had to adapt and change a lot of equipment and go into the 21st century and make our packages different and really catch up with what's going on. And the other person that was there said, look, I don't want to invest that money because I don't think that's going to be a successful way to go. And then my father turned to him and said, have you ever known me to fail? Don't bet against me. So, that's kind of like the same thing. And obviously we've been successful with it. So, don't bet. And honestly, I think that's a great statement. Having daughters, right? Being a father of daughters. I think that's awesome. So that resonates with me. I know you have a daughter that resonates with you, and I'd want them to have the same attitude. And that's exactly what I teach them. I teach them independence, how to be resilient, and how to make their own way. Don't depend on anybody. And whoever gives you negativity, take that, chew it up, and take that as like to inspire yourself to prove them wrong. So I think it's a very good statement. I'm going to steal it.
Absolutely is. And it seems that every challenge that she seemed to have gone through, she's kind of come through better for it. And it just goes to show you that all the things that we have in our lives that hold us down later on become our greatest teachers. So
it's true.
I don't want to get biblical and seriously here, but that is the truth. Hey, so let's bring her on. The name of this book, by the way, is called Life Beyond the Keyhole by C. Sparks. And her real name is Sheila. And here she is. Welcome, Mrs. Sparks. How are you?
Leland loves that music, Leland. He just got to do it.
Got to throw it in.
Hello, Sheila.
It's brilliant.
Hi.
Now, Sheila, you're in, I believe, I don't know. I think you're in the Midwest. I think Michigan. Am I correct?
Right, that is correct. Niles, Michigan, about 20 minutes from the University of Notre Dame.
Cool. Now, Mike, I want to start at the beginning with her for a story. Now, she was born, I believe, in Chicago, and she lived in an apartment with her mom. And Sheila, I'll let you bring this up. How did all these challenges start for you as a young girl?
Basically, it was the 60s. My mom lived in Chicago at a time when there was a lot of hate, a lot of her parents had given up on her because she was hanging with the wrong people. Back in the day, they used to call them colored people. I didn't see any problem, but we lived in Chicago and we were surrounded by different types of people, but I knew it to be normal. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. She got in some trouble. She was hanging out with the wrong folks. She got pregnant. I came along. Didn't know who my father was. She ended up getting arrested. Unfortunately, I ended up ending up in a woman's house and being abused and locked in a closet, and eventually being shipped away to meet my grandparents in Michigan. And from there into foster homes, and it just continued to spiral.
Yeah, and as I read the book,
did your grandparents pass away, or what made you go to a foster home?
Well, what happened, they were older, and my grandfather was disabled. My grandmother worked, and they didn't have a car. And here they have this young girl. They didn't know what to do with her. Different lifestyle once I got with them. what I was used to playing with these girls in Chicago and playing double dutch jump rope, and those were my friends. And I got to Michigan, and not so much. There, you weren't allowed to speak to them. There, I wasn't allowed to play with anybody. I was just out in the backyard by myself, kicking a ball up in the air and catching it. And when I got on the bus, I kept my head down. I didn't speak to anybody because my grandfather told me you don't talk to those people. So unfortunately, it went from one extreme to another, and eventually ended up with an aunt and uncle. I was a little too much to handle, I guess, and I ended up being pulled out of there and into foster care.
Wow.
But let's back up a little bit, because you went like way ahead. Because when I was reading the story, you originally, when you were living with your mom, before she got in any trouble, your mom was actually living with a man, I guess, who had a daughter as well. And
That's correct.
how was that environment for you? Now, of course, you're saying you were raised probably not well, but when you were a little kid, and this is the reality that you're in, this is the only reality you have. So everything is, I guess, the way it's supposed to be, until you learn better, until you learn that that's not the way life works, or our life shouldn't be that way. But just backing up though for a moment, how was the environment of you and your mom and this man and this stepsister, I guess, if you will, if you could tell us about how that was?
It was a lot of, she lived with this man named Bill, and he would beat her daily. I was young. He never raised a hand to me or to the other little girl, but daily he would whip on my mom. He would just beat her so bloody and call her horrible names, and just so abusive. And he would come and go. And I don't know if we lived with him or if he lived with us, but we were never all together all the time. He would go missing for a few days at a time. He would beat her so bad she'd walk across the street. We lived across from the hospital, and I would watch her from the window as she walked across the street to go get help. It wasn't healthy. It was, we didn't have anybody around. I was locked into an apartment by myself a great deal of the time. And I'm 4 and 5 years old in this apartment. And it was bad. And then she got in trouble and ended up in jail. And that put me in another bad environment, which was at a neighbor lady's, locked in a closet. And from what we can figure out, I was in that closet a week, maybe more, and just brought out to be beaten. And they would tape record me and then put me back in the closet.
Yeah, I read that. That was so disturbing. This is so, but what was before you were put into this closet at the neighbors? What was the environment like in this home, in this apartment? I mean, I assume you were like a white girl in a black neighborhood, I guess, would you say?
That is correct. Yeah. I was the only fair-skinned. Yes. Yep. And
you were. And that was normal to you at that moment. And then later on, when you went to your grandparents, it's abnormal for them because they're racist, apparently. But prior to that, what was the environment like in your home? Your mom came home every night, fed you dinner. Did she treat you well? And no?
No. I was alone a great deal of the time. I would sneak down and go outside and play double dutch jump rope with the other little girls, which I didn't see color. Okay, yeah, they were darker than I, but that wasn't a big deal. I'm 5 years old. I had somebody to be around. She would be gone days at a time. The last time when finally the police came and got me, she had got arrested, and she must have told them that her daughter was at the apartment alone, and they showed up to get me out of there. And I had been there several days by myself.
That's so painful. But I remember reading in a book too, there was these like cockroaches around the apartment and stuff. There was lots of roaches that disgust you. And
cockroaches, and I used to. Oh, go ahead, sir.
No, it's okay. Please don't call me sir. I'm that old.
Sorry.
Yeah. You said that in the apartment there was lots of roaches, and that it disgusted you, and it was like, the other little girl next to you that would be there occasionally, that your half sister, if you will. I don't know what you want to say about that. She was like befriending them, and you were kind of like disgusted by them. I'm trying to envision this apartment in Chicago, in the suburbs, in an African American neighborhood in the '60s. And I'm trying to think in my mind. I mean, we've all started places where we lived in apartments as people growing up in Brooklyn or Bronx or New York or whatever. And I'm like, what is that environment like? Was it a nice place? Was it a disgusting place? Was it, I mean, were you sleeping on a mattress? Was there never enough food in the home? Like, what was this environment that you're growing into that you feel is normal at that moment?
I didn't have a bedroom. I slept on a couch. Since I was older than the other girl, she got the love seat. And I would wet the couch and I would pee the couch and I would get up in the middle of the night and I'd pick her up and I'd put her over on the wet couch in hopes that she would get in trouble for peeing the couch. I wasn't smart enough to realize, her pants, she didn't actually pee there and they caught on I was moving her over there. But we didn't have a bedroom. There wasn't a lot of food. What food there was, it was cereal, something simple that I made myself. Wasn't much to eat. I just spent a lot of time locked in an apartment, looking out the window, watching fire trucks and ambulances go to the hospital, and just dreaming of something better. I knew that there had to be something better out there. This is crazy. I could hear music. I could see the younger people out there kind of out by the street listening to their music. And I just sat in the apartment and I would listen to music in there when she was gone. But when I could hear her coming home, I would shut the music off because I didn't want to get in trouble. And just a lot of time by myself. There was nobody there to raise me, to tell me what to do, how to do it. I just sort of stumbled and learned. And that was it. There was just no guidance.
And Leland was just asking, what about school?
I didn't go to school there. I didn't go to school till I ended up in Michigan. My mom ended up putting me on a bus by myself with just an address pinned to the front of my shirt, and told the bus driver to make sure I make it to Dowagiac, Michigan safely. She waved goodbye and off I went, never to see her again.
But yet your mother loved you.
She loved me. She did love me. And people say, how could you think she loved you? And I have to think positive and say she did what she thought she needed to do to keep me safe. Had she not made that decision, I would almost have to say I wouldn't be here. I'm sure at some point the mental abuse and the physical abuse I went through would end up sexual abuse. So I think, looking back, and now that I'm older and have my own children, I think she did the right thing. It's sad, but I think she saved my life.
Yeah,
So,
I believe she did.
so wait, so
Out of
so
tragedy.
her circumstances dictated what did she do to make a living, to keep you, whatever roof you had on your head, whatever that she did, and you said that she loved you. So let's take it out. Let's just say she found $1 million. What do you think that your mother would be like as a rich woman? You think that she loved you and it would have been different, obviously. But do you think her circumstances dictated what happened to you? And she
I
didn't
do.
want that to happen?
I do. I think she was, like I said, in love with, back then, a colored man. Her family had disowned her. They had never met me till I arrived on their doorstep. They didn't know what they were getting. I think she did the best she could do. And unfortunately, we may not agree with it, but I think she saved my life, and I made it through. I made it through it. I learned, man, it is so about your attitude determines your altitude. I say it all the time. Negativity, yeah, if you want to be negative about everything, you will end up being around those type of people. You're never going to succeed.
Yeah, but
And
just
I made
think
some
about
choices.
I think
Go
about
ahead.
like I look at you sitting here now, and I have the total opposite story, right? Loving family, 2 parents, blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
blah. And you come from total opposite, but you said your mom loved you, but different circumstance of growing up. And your formative years as a kid, totally just like blown apart. Like, I mean, there's just, you never, it just grown up totally different. And to wind up where you are now is amazing, and it must really bother you when people complain about trivial things in life, right? If someone complains
That's
about
what
like,
made this book. That's correct. That's what made this book. I am so tired of seeing shootings and people going out and tearing up towns, and they use their upbringing as the reason to do it. They use it as a crutch. I did this because I didn't have a father figure to teach me different. I did that because I didn't have a mom, and I'm just so over it. I'm over using that stuff for a crutch. You got to choose to use it as a trampoline and bounce away from that stuff. Get away from it. You're in charge. You were given life. You weren't promised a good life or a bad life. The pursuit of it's up to you. You got to get out there, make stuff happen. And this sitting around waiting for good things to come your way, all you're going to get is scraps. You got to get up, go out there, get dressed, and make it happen every day. And stop blaming everybody around you.
How does somebody that's so beaten down get that opposite behavior that you have to, I mean, that enlightenment? How does the enlightenment comes from the pain? How is it? A lot of people, like you just said, will go down, burn down the street and say, I did this because of my past. Okay, so what made you click to the other side that I need to get my own shit together to make things right? What makes you click that way?
I don't know. I cross paths with good people in my life. I have been very, very blessed to have crossed paths with people who believed in me, that seen a spark in me, that just knew that I just needed help. I needed somebody to believe in me and to just say, you got this. And I was very, very fortunate to cross paths with people who gave me a job. I never applied for a job. People came to me wanting to give me a job. So I'm just very blessed on that. Very, very blessed.
Were you blessed? Do you think there was intervention in a godly way? Are you religious?
I'm not religious. I do believe there's something, I have a friend, I have to say this. You just brought up a good point. I know I can't get into heaven just because I'm a good person and I do good things and I take care of other people and I donate and I help homeless and I do all these things. That doesn't guarantee me a place in heaven, I've been told. And I get it. But I think I'm just a believer. You treat people, I think you get what you give. I think it all comes back around tenfold. I believe that with all my heart.
Yeah,
I know. Let me ask one more question, Mike, because I don't want to interrupt you. But this is something I was just thinking about.
I have a question. I just said it's karma.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, as she's speaking before, when you brought up that good point about if the mom had $1 million, what would have done, how her life would have changed, and that made me automatically think back to when my mother had died. That what my uncle said to me at a funeral, and I remember thinking of, and it's stuck in my head. So I'm going to ask you the same question. Your mom is probably passed now; she's not alive anymore, right?
That's what we think. We think she died back in the 70s.
Probably, yeah. And do you think did she have a drug issue? Was my one question. And the second thing is, but the bigger question is, if she was here now physically and saw you and came over to you and wrapped her arms around you and said, Sheila, what would she say to you now?
I would have to think she would tell me she was sorry. The last time I seen her, I had very long blonde hair. She brushed my hair and she told me, she said, I love you, little Sheila, and I'm so sorry I have to do this. I would have to think she would apologize. I could be wrong, but...
Okay, no. I would imagine she would, and I would imagine that she would, and I would imagine that she'd be proud of your accomplishments through your life.
I would hope so. I would hope so. I've tried very hard. Everybody along the line is always just throwing, they tell you, people throw stones at you, and you have to learn to take those stones and either build a bridge, or build a wall. And I've just chose to just take them and build something better. And I truly am blessed. I've got a good job. I've got a wonderful husband. It took many, many foster homes, a few bad toxic relationships, but I finally met a person who believed in me and just motivates me to be all I can be.
And did your
I mean,
mom
just
have
think,
a
please,
drug
just,
issue?
please. What? I'm sorry, go ahead.
About
was
the
your
drug
question,
issue?
John?
Did your mom have a drug issue, do you believe?
I think she did. I can't
And she
answer
must,
that for sure. I do know she was doing things as far as prostitution. I do know she got arrested for stealing. That's how I ended up at the neighbors, in the closet. But I would have to say yes, she probably
you
did.
have you have to hear what happened with her when she was. Please tell Mike, because I don't think he's aware of exactly the details of that. What happened when you were sent to the neighbors when she got arrested? Explain, because that's what the whole name of the book is, Through the Keyhole. It is
Right.
disturbing, and I'm not bringing it up to sensationalize disturbing things in your life. I'm bringing it up because I think people really need to understand how difficult and how painful what you went through at that time at that house for a week. Inhuman.
The police showed up. Yeah, the police showed up and they told me they were taking me to the neighbors. I'd never met the lady, but supposedly she was a friend of my mom's. They told me she was in trouble and that they were going to have to take me there, so I had somebody to watch over me. We showed up. He introduced me to this lady. No sooner than they left, she was talking to the policeman. I went and ate a couple crackers that were on the counter because I was hungry. It had been several days since I had had any food, and there were some peanut butter crackers on the counter. And I guess I ate more than one or two. And when she finally finished with the police, she walked over there where I was standing and saw that I had ate the crackers. And from that point on, it was pure hell. It was beatings. It was into the closet. The son took the light bulb out at the top so it would remain dark in there. And they were old doors and they had these big keyholes. And I would sit in there and just watch them through the keyhole. And then they would bring me out. And at first, she would just beat me. And then the next time she brought me out, she would beat me and he would beat me. And then they had a tape recorder. And they would tape record me screaming for help and to stop. And then they'd throw me back in the closet. And then they would play the recording back and laugh at me. And then I would sit in the closet and watch them through the keyhole. And it was hot in there. And I could remember just a little bit of breeze coming through that keyhole. And I remember just thinking, all this for some crackers. I ate some crackers. And this went on day and night for many days. And I was too young to know, was it a week? Was it 2 weeks? And being dark in there, I didn't know if it was day or night. It was a long time. And people say, well, you're only 5 years old. A long time to you could have been a day. No, it was a long time. And finally, my mom got released and she come to pick me up. And this lady pulled me out of the closet, brushed my hair, wiped me down. First water I had had in I don't know how long, and told me if I said anything, she would kill me. She would kill my mom. She'd kill me. And yeah, that's how that went down with the neighbor lady protecting me.
Did they face any consequence for that? Would anything ever happen with them?
I don't know what happened. When I got home, my mom went to give me a bath and she asked me how I got all the bruises. And I told her it was from jumping rope, from playing double Dutch jump rope, because I was scared they would hurt me or hurt my mom. And it took many questions. She finally said, what happened? What are these from? This isn't from jumping rope. Next thing I know, she said, lock the door. I'll be back. She took off. A short time later, she come back crying and upset and told me I had to leave. I was going to have to get out of town. I was going to have to go live somewhere else, that she was in big trouble. And I never knew what happened to that lady. I don't know if she hurt that lady. I have no idea. No idea.
How sick is that? Just think about that. What kind of evilness can people, how could somebody get pleasure out of beating a kid and treating them poorly and not feeding them and sticking them in a closet? And what kind of insane evil is that?
The problem with this is it affected me. Okay. Yeah, it affected me then. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it was bad. But down the road, I didn't know how to love my own kids, my own boys. I love them with all my heart, but I never wanted to whip them. You know why? I was afraid if I started, I'd never finish. I just continued, I'd always just whip, and I didn't want to be that person. So I opted for this, back in the day, the time out. Put them in a corner, sit them on a stool. Yeah, that worked real well. So the unfortunate part about this is I wasn't really capable. I wasn't equipped to raise my own kids.
I think it would have the opposite effect on you, being treated so poorly that you knew now to break that cycle of being treated like that and maybe treat them differently. I guess just like, now,
I did treat them differently. That's the problem. I gave and I gave and I gave. And I was constantly, I don't whip, don't beat them. Oh, you want this? Okay, yes, I'll give you this. Oh, I don't want you to want for anything. I don't want you to struggle like I did. And I pretty much handed everything to them. I handed everything to them because I didn't want them to suffer. And that kind of backfired.
Yeah, the complete opposite is not good either. So
that's right.
I guess there's somewhere in the middle you have to find that sweet spot and actually you need to be shown them skills somewhere from some person at some point in your life, somebody with who has that that ability, just like people said, if you have like good kids, they say, how the hell did you do that? Well, it's a lot of hard work, and there's a middle ground to it. You can't give them everything. Like with me, my children are smart. They're the greatest people I know, and I'll give them anything they want, but it's earned. So like, as long as you are the way you are, as long as you do good in school, as long as you're a good person, as long, I don't do it. But if you decide that you want to go a different direction, all that stuff's going to go away real quick. So,
exactly.
I mean, there's definitely a middle ground to parenting.
Exactly. And I didn't have I didn't have a family to guide me. I didn't have anybody to teach me those skills. I mean, the foster homes, they used you to clean their house. I was a servant. It was the last foster home I finally got in at the age of 15 that he was a teacher and she was a librarian. It was there that somebody finally sat down with me and taught me, hey, you're going to graduate. Hey, this is how we do things. But I was 15. I was already, I had already been down, many roads by the time I got there. But it was those folks that
the bread was cooked.
Yeah,
no kidding. You were already formed and made already. And by the way,
right.
Having that whole upbringing, having all those problems, what does that end up doing to you as well? It makes you turn into a person that's you've been jerked around so many times by so many people. You're expecting it to happen again and again and again. So you care less. You get this displacent kind of behavior. Like, I don't care. I'm just going to get moved around again. I'm going to be banged up again. So you just go through life looking for the next crash.
That's
caring.
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey,
nothing fazed me. It was like, okay, all right, I'm getting packed up and I'm going to the next home. Okay, whatever, that's fine. You become numb. And I was, again, I'm going to say blessed, because I don't know if God watched over me, but I never chose drugs. I never for 1 minute considered going in a back alley doing illegal sexual acts for a cheeseburger. doing drugs and escaping and trying to numb myself. That was never even an option to me. I got my first job at 14. I was working at a library. I mean, I just, for some reason, had the drive to just succeed, to do good. And I wanted to prove to all those people who wanted to tell me that you'll never grow up to be anything. You'll never amount to anything. You're going to be worthless, just like your mom. I wanted to show them. Yeah. Okay. All right. I hear you. And, yeah, it was just in me. The fire was in me to prove people wrong.
So your revenge was success.
All right.
Personal.
I'm going to say yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Personal success.
Yep. Definitely. Definitely.
Now, when, I was raised by a single mom. And as a kid,
Okay.
I guess, again, your environment is whatever your environment is, you think it's normal because that's what's around you. It's like if you jump in the water, you're all wet. It just is what it is. It's not like, all right, only pieces, you're engulfed in something that becomes normal, whether it's normal or not. And I know as a kid too, I think a lot of my friends back in the day that, hung out at bars, and I'm wondering how you avoided the drugs. And I mean, you're saying you didn't, but what gave you this self-esteem after being beaten down like this, not to go to that direction? I wonder what was the click that allowed you to not become dependent on something else to get you away from the pain? Or did you not?
I did have a point when I did get married to my second husband, and he was in a band, and we drank a lot as far as every weekend, at every gig. And I think I did use that maybe for some escape. I mean, any person who can do, 15 shots of Crown in a night is definitely trying to escape something. So during that time, I did some drinking, but I don't know. I never even had a drive to do drugs. I never even wanted, I think I knew I couldn't afford a habit. So I didn't want to start a habit. I couldn't afford it. Drinking would probably be the only thing I did in the 80s and the 90s. I did my fair share of drinking, but it didn't keep me down. I didn't lose jobs. I didn't get a DUI. Google it. There is no DUIs. I never got arrested. I've just made good choices. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. I made good choices, and again, didn't use things as a crutch. I was going to succeed, and I didn't need to be president of the United States. I am not going to be the president of a large corporation, but I am happy and I am healthy and I'm employed. I have a roof, I have a car, and I'm helping others. And that's what this is all about with this book, was to help others that feel lost and alone and need some guidance. And I want to help and let them know, if you choose to hang with the chickens, you're going to walk around and cluck. But if you choose to hang with the eagles, you will soar. And that's what I chose. I chose the eagles. And it's all about just your attitude.
If you think about it, failure should have been your MO. I hate to say that. If you think about it, failure should have been your direction. It's an inevitable direction. Let me ask you, why did your parents apparently didn't get along with your mom? And is it because they were racist? Maybe the grandparents were racist and your mom wasn't, and that's the reason why they were correct. Like, oh, all right, you both, that's what I kind of presume.
Go live your life. You want to go in Chicago, you want to hang out with those people. We don't want anything to do with you. They didn't know what they were getting. They hadn't seen me. So when I showed up when I showed up there in their town, they didn't know if I was mixed, white, what is she going to be?
But they didn't want you.
They didn't want me.
They didn't. Right. And they must have been like, oh my God, thank God she's white. Not to be funny, but they've been like, oh, she's white. All right, at least it's not that bad. All right, it's not that bad. Because to them, in their mind, they're going to be looking out through the perspective of racism.
That is correct. And they were relieved, but they taught me the way they taught me. I had to totally relearn, because once I would get on the bus, I wasn't supposed to talk to these other little kids. And so they made fun of me. They thought I was some kind of weirdo, because I kept my head down, and I didn't want to get in trouble if my grandpa found out I was talking to these people. So they would spit in my hair, and they would put gum in my hair, and they would call me names and tell me I was weird and kick me. And I would get to school, and the teacher would have to cut gum out of my hair that I got in my hair on the bus. And it just was, it never ended. That you would have these days at school where your teachers say, hey, you're going to invite your parents to come and see the pretty little drawings you make. Everybody had a parent but me. There I sat alone, nobody to see my drawings I made, and the teacher would come sit with me. She'd sit beside me. She goes, Sheila, I'm going to sit with you. It just never ended. It just seemed like every day was a challenge. Growing up and getting older, and you thought it would, I made some friends finally in junior high school. And I was, again, lucky to meet with some friends. I ended up being a pom-pom girl, and I met cheerleaders, and I luckily made friends with the right people. So that kind of helped.
Oh, so you were with the in crowd.
Yes. I wasn't with the ones over on the corner smoking at lunchtime. I wasn't that girl.
Yeah, I mean, and by, like John said, by everything that you've told us, you should have been like some, prostitute, gun wielding, maniac, psycho, school shooter. I mean, you had you had like every reason that people choose, right? Like to become that,
Right.
So,
and that's what bothers
obviously,
me,
you had no privilege. You were unprivileged, and you turned out a mom, a wife, an animal lover, as we hear.
Yeah.
So
sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And I'm sure it took a lot, because you got to love yourself before you can love somebody else, obviously.
Correct.
So I'm sure it took a lot to, like you said, like you admitted, to love your children. You love them, but you don't. I can understand it. I mean, I can't understand. I haven't been there, but I mean, the kind of adversity.
It's taken me 50 years to learn to love myself, and I'm all good. If you want to come in and hang with me and love with me, great. If you want to leave, great. Don't stand in the doorway. I just don't have time for drama and toxic people. I just don't. I am the best friend you could have. I will help you. Just do me right. Don't do me bad, and we'll get along just fine. But I did fail, and I put it in the book, as he said. I failed at raising my boys correctly. I taught them what I thought was right, but unfortunately, I wanted to hand everything to them because I didn't want them to struggle. And that was a bad choice. Bad choice, because as my youngest grows up, he expects everything handed to him.
I guess
it's only when you say it's failure. It's you were given a plan. You were given a information. You didn't have a set list of how to play this game, and so you did whatever you thought was best, just like your mother had done to you. And this almost goes to show you how the spiral works in life. When one thing goes wrong, it tumbles down into other things. So when you say that I failed, no, you didn't fail. You did the best you could in this situation, just like your mother had done with you. The best you could in your own situation. It's not failure. It's only failure if it's intentional, like the evil person that was keeping you in a closet. That's a failure of a person. That's a person that's truly evil. But I don't think it's failure. I think you did the best with the knowledge that you had, and after it's all said and done, I'm sure just like your mom loved you, I'm sure your boys love you.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. But I just feel bad that they at least do know who their dad is and who their mom is. And I got that part right. But I just wished I could have done some things differently. And again, I wasn't given a handbook. I wasn't given a handbook on this is how you do it. But I think I made some good choices and I made some bad choices, unfortunately.
You don't have any depression or anything at all ever come through?
Yeah, I am claustrophobic.
Mhm.
I can't, even in an elevator, I tend to break out in a sweat. I get very nerved up. I have a little bit of anxiety. I'm always kind of anxious, very high strung. But other than that, no, I'm not bipolar. I don't have any multiple personalities or any that come out to play or anything. And I mean, I don't have anything like that, but I do struggle a little bit sometimes with just self-esteem.
Which was your mom had the same thing apparently.
Yes.
I mean, the woman wouldn't be getting beaten up by her boyfriend or pimp or whatever. I'm not sure if he was that or not, but she wouldn't be getting beaten up and constantly going back for more if she had self-esteem, if she had any self-worth. That would not be allowed.
We found out later that it probably was her pimp. That is exactly right, but we didn't know that till later.
I kind of smelled it must have been a drug issue as well, because what else keeps you tied? To be able to be a prostitute, you have to almost close your mind in one way and go into, unless you're really cool with it. But I would see most people, I would think they would take drugs and other things to get through that so they can get back into their regular life. I would imagine. Correct. I don't know. Yeah, they disassociate. Thank you, Leland. That's right. Word
yes, that's a good word.
He's too smart, that guy. So now, now's the best part, because now you've gone through all these things. You've had some really rough life lessons. And now look where we stand now. Now we're at the top of the ladder, looking back down, saying all the broken pieces that come together that brought you to this place. And now you could say, what inspires you now? And what do you want to see for the future of you, your family? What do you want to see for this, the donations that you give, the helping others? I mean, it led you on a better path, which is great.
Got married a year ago. It'll be a year in July. Reconnected with a friend in high school. We both graduated at the same year. He went through a divorce. I had went through a very toxic, narcissistic relationship. And he reached out to me and I told him I was in a really bad place. I just don't think it's a good idea. I need some time. I need to regroup and just kind of get my head in a much better place. And he stayed in touch, and eventually I caved and we went out, and God, he's just fabulous. I don't think I could have molded a better person for me. And he knows all the bad and he knows the good, and he just, he just keeps me going. He motivates me to be a better version of me. I am just so lucky that he's the reason I wrote the book. He knew I had started it years ago and I put it on the back burner. And he said, why don't you finish it? You always like to help people. You want to do for others. Finish it. And okay, sure. So I contacted a publisher out of Georgia and went forward with it. And part of the agreement is I want to do this, and it's not to get rich. It's not to be, famous. I want to help other people. I want to take a portion of every book sale and it goes to a special fund. And I am in talks with the city to try to do something positive for kids. And I am talking with someone right now on making an area for children, and just where they can go and be kids and have fun and laugh and be themselves. And that's my goal. That is where I'm headed to right now. And I've only had the book out since February 17th. I've sold 150 copies, and that's not a lot in 7-8 weeks. But again, that's a good start. And I'm proud of it. I'm very proud. I think I did a good job of showing bad and good and some evil, and also in the end I win. Not Charlie Sheen winning, not that winning, but I win. And I'm very happy about that. I'm very, very, very proud of it.
And you should be. You know, when I
Thank you.
look in when I look into your eyes and I see you here, I see a spark of spiritualness that's helped you through this more than probably all the craziness that you went through. There's something innately in you that came out that was there all along, probably, that helped you get through all of this, like a spiritual help somehow, you know. So where do we?
Thank you.
I'm hoping that we could help you sell some of these books too, and
Thank you.
get more people out, to, you know, to help. And I would, there's things like battered wives and battered women and battered children. There's all these organizations for that as well, which would probably be a
Yes.
good place to also donate to as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
You know
I've
what I like?
got,
These- I like
what was
I
that?
like those. I said I like those. I'm getting like a feedback, I think, or something. I like those homes where these women that are abused with children, they have no place to go.
Yes.
And I've seen them. I know there's a number of them, you know, I've donated to, because I think that's so awesome. Because how many women are stuck in an environment with kids, and with a guy that's just treacherous, and they can't get out of it. You know, maybe
Safe house.
maybe if your mother had that option, you know, maybe she chose that option or had an option, like an out. That's why I said maybe things turn differently. So they give all these women an option to get out of that relationship. You know, some of these women, 3 o'clock in the morning, are loading their kids up and, you know, running away and doing what they got
That
to
is
do.
right.
But,
Well, they're
so, you know,
controlled, and they've been controlled. They don't have a job. The guy controls them and beats them and does whatever, and they're beat down. And they have nobody to go to. Their friends have, he's unfortunately alienated them from their friends. They have nobody to talk to, and the guy is all they've got. And you're right. I want to help people like that. And so I've donated a couple books to the libraries for people who don't have money to buy a book. So you can go to the Niles Library and rent it. I went to the Dowagiac Library and donated one there. And it's available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, and also through me. If you order it through me on my Facebook page, Life Beyond the Keyhole, I will sign it. I will include a skeleton key bookmarker and a little Mr. Goodbar, which is really important in the story. So when you read the story, you understand what the Mr. Goodbar is about.
That's why I have a headache. I ate the chocolate.
Is that what it was? The sugar? Yeah. Okay. Your story.
I have to end this on a good note, because it is a really disturbing story. But you have a very positive light about you. You glitter with a great shine. So, and I can see that, and I appreciate you coming on and doing this. So we could get the book. And by the way, in my mind, I was thinking of a joke. I don't know if I should do it, but I did a show for the Tempura House. You ever hear of the Tempura House?
Okay.
It's a place for women that are lightly battered.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's really nasty. I know. All right, I know. I just couldn't help it.
Actually, I like that.
You can laugh.
Anyway.
And you see.
yeah, and he's telling me he's worried that we're going to do something to get thrown off YouTube.
I don't condone anyone hurting anybody. You know that.
No.
Anyway,
No.
once again, let's say I want to implore people, please go out and get this book. I read this book and I could not let it down. I started reading this. I was up before 4 a.m., went right through it to the end. I couldn't stop. It's really great. And
but we also
really
have to give credit. Like, what's the dog's name?
Nico. He's a husky. And it is driving him crazy. He can hear your voices in here, and he's out there. So my apologies.
He's not in on the fun. He's missing out.
Yes,
that's quite all right.
And thank you.
That's quite all right. Mikey and I are both huskies, so it's all good.
Oh, okay.
Sheila, once again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and we wish you
like
luck.
that's a true thing, right, Peasy? Like, you used to go shop in the husky section. You remember that?
Yeah, that was when it was politically correct to say you were a husky. Today, what are we called today?
Yeah, my grandmother used to call me big boned.
Big boned. Yeah, I'm big boned. Yeah, I hear you. Thanks, guys, for letting me hang with you and get it out there. It's appreciated more than you'll ever know.
And more than we know. Thank you for coming on. And if you guys like the show, please feel free to comment on the YouTube channel, press like and subscribe, and on all the other ones as well. And we'll be back soon. Thank you so much, Sheila. Stay well.
So you'll just shoot me an email and let me know when to look for it then, right?
By the time Leland's done
cool.
editing everything, when he edits everything, I'm going to have a full head of hair and you're going to look 31.
Yay! Oh, I can hardly wait. Yes. All right, guys, I'll let you get on with your business.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Again, appreciate
you
guys and love you guys. Take care.
You're welcome.
All right. I got to go take a leak because I drank this whole water.